Eyewitness News has learned that a man with ties to El Chapo's Sinaloa drug cartel was found gunned down Thanksgiving morning.
The world's most dangerous inmates are individuals who have committed heinous crimes and continue to pose significant threats even while incarcerated. These prisoners are often held in maximum security facilities under strict surveillance due to their violent tendencies and high risk of escape attempts. Here are 15 most dangerous prison inmates in the world. Number 15. Joaquin Guzman. Joaquin Guzman, the notorious Sinaloa cartel leader, is considered one of the most dangerous prison inmates in modern history. He orchestrated the trafficking of over 2.2 million pounds of cocaine and other drugs into the US, building a $1 billion fortune. His empire was protected by sophisticated tunnels, armed gangs, and advanced communications networks. Despite being captured in 1993 and sentenced to 20 years, he escaped in 2001 via laundry cart through bribing guards. He was recaptured in 2014 but escaped again through a tunnel in 2015. Finally arrested in 2016, he was extradited to the US and sentenced to life plus 30 years in 2019. He is believed responsible for over 34,000 deaths through his cartel's operations. His personal arsenal included a gold-plated AK-47 and diamond-encrusted handguns. He is now incarcerated at ADX Florence Supermax Prison. Number 14. Joseph James DeAngelo. Joseph James DeAngelo, a former police officer, was a serial killer and rapist who terrorized California between 1974 and 1986. He committed at least 13 murders, 51 rapes, and 120 burglaries across the state. His crimes began with burglaries and rapes in Sacramento, where he would stalk middle-class neighborhoods at night. He often conducted extensive reconnaissance, entering homes beforehand to unlock windows and plant ligatures. DeAngelo would threaten victims with a handgun, bind them with shoelaces, and stack dishes on male victims to ensure they didn't move. He spent hours in victims' homes, eating their food and repeatedly assaulting women. After decades evading capture, he was finally arrested in 2018 through DNA evidence and genetic genealogy. In 2020, at age 74, he pleaded guilty to 13 murders and multiple kidnappings to avoid the death penalty. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button and click the notification bell right now. Number 13. Robert Maudsley. Robert Maudsley, aged 71, is Britain's longest-serving prisoner in solitary confinement, having spent 45 years isolated due to his extreme danger to others. Known as Hannibal the Cannibal, he resides in a specially designed cell at Wakefield Prison behind 17 steel doors. After killing a child molester in 1974, Maudsley was sent to Broadmoor Hospital. He subsequently murdered 3 more people, 1 in the hospital and 2 fellow inmates at Wakefield Prison in 1978. Due to his violent history, he requires an escort of at least 4 prison officers whenever he leaves his cell. His current confinement consists of a glass-walled cell where he spends 23 hours per day. The cell contains only basic furnishings made of cardboard. Despite requesting changes to his confinement conditions in 2000, including a pet budgerigar, all his appeals have been denied. Prison staff maintain he would likely kill again if given the opportunity. Number 12. Nico Jenkins. Nico Jenkins committed 4 murders in Omaha, Nebraska, in August 2013, shortly after his release from a 10-year prison term. His violent tendencies emerged early. During his previous incarceration, he spent 58 months in segregation and lost 555 days of good time due to misconduct. Jenkins exhibited severe mental illness from age 8 and spent nearly 5 years in solitary confinement before his release. Despite repeatedly requesting civil commitment and psychiatric help, he was released directly into society without support. During his murder spree, Jenkins claimed to act under orders from the Egyptian serpent god Apophis. Throughout his trial, he engaged in bizarre behaviors like speaking in tongues and self-mutilation. In 2017, a 3-judge panel sentenced him to death plus 450 years for weapons charges. The US Supreme Court rejected his final appeal in 2020. Number 11. Joanna Dennehy. Joanna Dennehy emerged as one of Britain's most dangerous female prisoners after murdering 3 men in 2013. She stabbed her victims in a 10-day killing spree and attempted to murder 2 others. While imprisoned at HMP Bronzefield, she devised a chilling escape plan involving killing a guard and using their severed fingers to bypass biometric security. This plot led to her placement in solitary confinement. Diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, Dennehy showed no remorse for her actions. She celebrated her murders by singing Britney Spears' "Oops, I Did It Again" and dancing when seeing news reports of her crimes. The court described her as the most dangerous female prisoner in custody and gave her a rare whole-life sentence, making her only the 3rd woman in UK history to receive this punishment. Number 10. Charles Bronson. Charles Bronson, born Michael Gordon Peterson in 1952, became Britain's most notorious prisoner after a 7-year armed robbery sentence in 1974 turned into nearly 5 decades behind bars. During his imprisonment, he committed numerous violent acts, including 11 hostage takings targeting prison staff, governors, doctors, and even his lawyer. His extreme behavior led to frequent transfers between facilities and extended periods in solitary confinement. Diagnosed with antisocial personality disorder, Bronson gained infamy for bizarre incidents, including covering himself in butter to fight guards. Despite his violent history, he developed artistic talents in prison, with his artwork commanding high prices. He remains incarcerated at HM Prison Woodhill, where he spends time creating art and listening to the radio. Number 9. Clayton Fountain. Clayton Fountain earned the title of Most Dangerous Prisoner in the U.S. federal system through a series of brutal acts. Originally imprisoned for killing his sergeant in Vietnam, he escalated his violence inside prison walls. At Marion Penitentiary, alongside fellow Aryan Brotherhood member Thomas Silverstein, he murdered multiple inmates, including Robert Chappelle and Raymond Smith, who was stabbed 67 times. The pinnacle of his violence came on October 22, 1983, when he killed corrections officer Robert Hoffman, hours after Silverstein had murdered Officer Merle Klutz. This incident led to a 23-year lockdown at Marion and influenced the creation of the ADX Florence Supermax prison. Fountain spent his final years in a specially constructed isolation cell in Missouri. Despite his violent past, he underwent a remarkable transformation, becoming a lay member of the Trappist order before his death in 2004. Number 8. Jason Barnum. Known as Eyeball due to his distinctive eye tattoo, Jason Barnum gained notoriety for his violent confrontation with law enforcement in 2012. At age 39, he engaged in a shootout with Anchorage police officers who were investigating a series of burglaries. During the incident at the Merrill Field Inn, Barnum opened fire from a bathroom, injuring one officer before being shot in the arm. He later admitted to numerous burglaries and car thefts, which he committed to support his heroin addiction. In 2015, Barnum received a 22-year sentence after pleading guilty to attempted murder, burglary, and weapons misconduct. During his sentencing, Police Chief Mark Mew highlighted Barnum's hostile attitude, while Barnum himself acknowledged his wrongdoings, but partially blamed the corrections system for his inability to reintegrate into society after previous releases. Number 7. Larry Hoover. Larry Hoover, founder of Chicago's Gangster Disciples, transformed a street gang into a massive criminal enterprise that he continued to lead from behind bars. His criminal career reached a turning point in 1973 when he ordered the murder of William Young, a 19-year-old drug dealer. This resulted in his first life sentence plus 200 years. However, Hoover's most remarkable feat was running his organization from prison, where he commanded an estimated 30,000 soldiers across 35 states, generating approximately $100 million annually. A 17-year federal investigation culminated in 1997 with additional convictions for conspiracy, extortion, and money laundering. Currently serving 6 life sentences at ADX Florence, Hoover used charitable organizations as fronts for money laundering. Despite claiming to renounce his gang ties in 2022, he remains one of America's most notorious prison gang leaders. Number 6. Dennis Rader. Dennis Rader terrorized Wichita and Park City, Kansas, between 1974 and 1991, murdering 10 people. Known as BTK for his method to bind, torture, kill, Rader typically targeted women, though he occasionally killed men and children. His first murders occurred on January 15, 1974, when he strangled 4 family members in their Wichita home. Rader would bind his victims with items from their homes and either suffocate them with plastic bags or strangle them with ligatures. He often took trophies from his victims, including underwear and personal items. After a 13-year silence, Rader resumed sending taunting letters to police in 2004, leading to his capture in 2005. He pleaded guilty to all charges and received 10 consecutive life sentences. Rader now serves his time in permanent solitary confinement at El Dorado Correctional Facility. Number 5. Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez, known as the Monster of the Andes, is one of history's most prolific serial killers, with over 300 victims across Colombia, Ecuador, and Peru. His killing spree began after his 1978 prison release, primarily targeting young girls aged 8 to 12. Lopez would lure victims with food or money before raping and strangling them. In 1980, floods in Ecuador uncovered several victims' remains, leading to his arrest. He confessed to murdering over 200 in Ecuador, some 10s in Peru, and many more in Colombia, eventually leading authorities to 53 bodies. Despite his horrific crimes, Lopez served only 14 years in Ecuador and was released in 1994 for good behavior. After a brief detention in Colombia and treatment in a mental hospital, he was released in 1998 on $70 bail. His last known sighting was in September 1999, and his current whereabouts remain unknown. Number 4. Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer murdered 17 men and boys between 1978 and 1991 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. His gruesome acts included necrophilia, cannibalism, and preserving body parts. He lured victims, mostly minorities, to his apartment with promises of money or sex, then drugged and strangled them. After killing, he would engage in sexual acts with corpses and dismember them, often keeping body parts as souvenirs and taking photos to relive the experience. Despite being diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and other mental conditions, he was found legally sane during his trial. In February 1992, he received 15 life sentences for murders in Wisconsin, plus another life sentence for a 1978 Ohio murder. Dahmer worked at a chocolate factory and lived alone in a one-bedroom apartment until his arrest in 1991. He was killed by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver on November 28, 1994, after serving less than 3 years in prison. Number 3. John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy, known as the Killer Clown, murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men in Cook County, Illinois. He lured victims to his Norwood Park home using construction work offers or other deceptions, then sexually assaulted and tortured them before strangling them to death. 26 victims were buried in his home's crawl space, 3 elsewhere on his property, and 4 were disposed of in the Des Plaines River. Gacy's double life included performing as Pogo the Clown at children's hospitals and charity events. Before his murder spree, he was convicted in 1968 for sexually assaulting a teenage boy in Iowa, serving 18 months of a 10-year sentence. His first known murder occurred in 1972, with most killings happening after his 1976 divorce. After his 1978 arrest, Gacy was convicted and received the death sentence in 1980. He was executed by lethal injection on May 10, 1994. Number 2. Andrei Chikatilo. Andrei Chikatilo, known as the Butcher of Rostov, murdered at least 52 women and children between 1978 and 1990 in the Soviet Union. His first victim was 9-year-old Yelena Zakotnova, whom he stabbed and strangled in December 1978. Over the next decade, he continued his brutal spree of sexual assaults, murders, and mutilations across Russia, Ukraine, and Uzbekistan. After his arrest in 1990, Chikatilo confessed to 56 murders, though he was convicted of 52. He was held in Vladimir Central Prison, Russia, notorious for its brutal conditions and harsh treatment of inmates. On February 14, 1994, Chikatilo was executed by a single gunshot to the head. Number 1. Aileen Wuornos. Aileen Wuornos murdered 7 men along Florida's highways between 1989 and 1990 while working as a sex worker. Born in Michigan in 1956, she endured a traumatic childhood marked by abandonment and abuse. Her victims were middle-aged men who she claimed attacked her, though she later retracted her self-defense claims. Her first victim was Richard Mallory, whose death set off a string of murders that ended with her arrest in January 1991. After multiple trials, she received 6 death sentences. Wuornos was executed by lethal injection on October 9, 2002, at age 46. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Thanks for watching.